Hello, everybody. Myself, Prasanto Mukhopadhyay. We are discussing about the power electronics introductory part, which is basically useful for diploma electrical engineering student as well as BTech, BE, that is undergraduate electrical engineering student. Whatever so far we have discussed about regarding thyristor, its rating, specification, turn off, turn on methodology, VI characteristics, etc. All are equally applicable for all type of electrical engineering students, whether he is the diploma engineering course or undergraduate electrical engineering course. So today, actually, in the last class, we have discussed about say rating specification as well as the snubber circuits and freewheeling, flywheel diodes, etc. Now, how this snubber circuits is useful for the protection of SCR. So there are different protections of SCRs like over voltage, over current, protection against DIDT protection, DVDT protection, etc. And for this connections, we have discussed the how snubber circuit is useful for protection of DVDT, etc. So now we will discuss in details about this type of protections, etc. Now, why it is required? So the proper if proper rating and specification is not selected for any particular applications of SCR. So if SCR is exceeded its ratings, then there may be faults may be arise, say due to overload or voltage tangent or any abnormal conditions. So if ratings exceeded, so definitely there must be a permanent chance of permanently damage of the SCR. So due to reverse recovery process during the turn up of the SCR, so voltage overshoots occur in the SCR. So that should be taken into mind before say selecting a particular SCR for any particular operations, etc. So during turn on or turn off, whatever be the case, turn on switching action produces overvoltage in the presence of inductance. In the event of even in case of short circuit, a large current flows to the SCRs, so which is very larger than its current rating. Therefore, to avoid such undesirable effects on the SCR due to these abnormal conditions, SCR must be provided with suitable protection circuits. Some of the protection techniques employed for SCR include overvoltage protection, overcurrent protection, DVDT protection, DIDT protection, etc. Also, to operate SCR in permissible temperature limits, heat produced at the junctions must be dissipated. And also, this can be accomplished by using heat sinks. Heat sink can be used for enabling the heat generated at the junctions for dissipating this heat. So now we will discuss in say short different protection methods. So first of all, we talk about the overvoltage. So whenever we are talking about the protection of something, so you must have to know what is the root cause behind this problem. So overvoltage definitely are greatest causes for failure of SCR. So this transient overvoltage often lead to unscheduled turn on of the SCR, maybe lead to permanent destruction of the SCR. If this reverse transient voltage is more than the reverse recovery voltage, say reverse recover voltage across the SCR. So there are several causes for appearing this overvoltage, like commutation, chopping, lightning, etc. So this depends on these sources. Over voltages are divided maybe out of two types: internal and external over voltages. So, what is the cause behind internal over voltage, or what is how it is being generated? Internal over voltage arises due to when SCR is in operation. So during turn off of SCR, a reverse current continues to flow to the SCR after the anode current decreases to zero or to sweep away the earlier stored charges. This reverse current decay at a faster rate at the end of the reverse recovered interval. So due to inductance of the circuit, this high DIDT produces high voltage. This voltage value may be much higher than the rated value of the SCR, and hence SCR may be damaged. So this is the reason behind the generation of internal over voltage, and why it should be protection must be taken against it. So to protect the thyristor or SCR from permanent damage. We have discussed about internal over voltage. Now we'll discuss about external over voltage. So this external over voltages arises of from the supply source or load. So some of these may be SCR in blocking mode in a converter circuit which is supplied with transformer, a small magnetizing current flow to the primary of the transformer. So if the primary side switch is suddenly removed, a high voltage transient is produced in the secondary of the transformer, and it is applied across the SCR. So this voltage is several times that of the breakover voltage of the SCR. So this is one of the reason for external over voltage. Another may be due to lightning surges on the HVDC systems, high voltage DC systems, to which SCR converters are connected, causes a very high magnitude of over voltage. This is second case. Maybe third one is SCR in SCR converter circuit. If it is connected to a high inductive load, the sudden interruption of current generates high voltage across the SCRs, because current change of current in an inductive circuit generates the voltage that is equal to. So this is a very common cause of generation of high voltage across the SCF. Or otherwise, if the switches is provided on the DC side, certain operation of these switches produces arc voltage, because this is due to the switching phenomena. This also gives rise the over voltage across the SCF. So how will protect against this over voltage? So protection against over voltages due to this transient over voltages, RC snubber circuit, parallel circuit across each SCR in a converter circuit is used. In our earlier class we have discussed how snubber circuit works. So this snubber network protects SCR against internal over voltages that are caused during the reverse recovery process. So after the SCR is turned off or commutated, the reverse recovery current is diverted to the snubber circuit, which consists of energy storing elements. The lighting and switching surges at the input side may also damage the converter or the transformer. So, and this effect of these voltages is minimized by using voltage clamping devices across the SCR. So therefore, voltage clamping devices like metal oxide varistor, selenium director diodes, and avalanche diodes suppressors are most commonly employed. These devices maybe have say falling resistance characteristics with an increase in voltage. Therefore, these devices provide a low resistance part across the SCR when surge voltage appears across the device. So this is a circuit given here by protection against overvoltages using thyrector diode and snubber network. So this is thyrector diode. This is snubber network. Um, so this is for overcurrent protection. This is circuit breaker. This is fuse, etc. Now this overcurrent person during short circuit conditions, overcurrent flows through the ACRs. So this is short circuit are either internal or external. The internal short circuits are caused by the reasons like failure of ACRs to block forward or reverse voltages, misalignment of firing pulses, short circuit or converter output terminals due to fault in connecting cables or load, etc. The external short circuits are caused by sustained overloads and short circuits in the load. So in the event of short circuit, the fault current depends on the source impedance. If the source impedance is sufficient during the short circuit, then fault current is limited below the multi-cycle surge ratings of the ACs. In case of AC circuits, the fault occurs at the instant of peak voltages if the source resistance is neglected. So in case of DC circuits, fault current is limited by the source resistance. Therefore, the fault current is very large if the source impedance is very low. The rapid rise of this current increase the junction temperature, and hence ACR may get damaged. So fault must be cleared before occurrence of its first peak. In other words, fault current may be interrupted before the current zero positions. Okay, so this is the overcurrent and its effect, etc. Now, how protection is being taken against overcurrent? ACR can be protected against this overcurrents using conventional overcurrent protection devices like ordinary fuses, HRC fuse, rewirable fuse, and conductor fuse, etc. Contactors, relays, and circuit breakers. Generally, for continuous overloads and surge currents of long duration, a circuit breaker is employed to protect ACR due to long tripping time. For an effective tripping of the circuit breaker, tripping time must be properly coordinated with ACR rating. Also, the large currents with short duration are also called as subcycle surge currents, are limited by connecting the first acting fuses in series with an ACR. So proper coordination of using the time and subcycle ratings must be selected for a reliable protection against overcurrents. Therefore, the proper coordination of fuse and circuit breakers is essential with the rating of the ACR. So here it is the selection of fuse for protecting ACR must be satisfied. These conditions, this is different, say, graph, device rating, fuse rating, circuit breaker rating, etc. And where this is a weighted point and this is the selection point. So fuse must be rated to carry the full load current continuously plus a marginal overload current for a small period. ISKT rating of the fuse must be less than the ISKT rating of the ACR, and during arcing period, fuse voltage must be high in order to force down the current value. After interrupting the current, fuse must withstand for any restricted voltage. So this is the characteristics curve of this is the device rating. This is fuse rating curve. This is your circuit breaker ratings, and this is the meeting point. This is actually a meeting point. So this is ampere versus current versus time graph. And from this the selection it will be taken within 10 milliseconds. Okay, so that's all about this protection against overcurrent. So far we have discussed about overvoltage, its cause, overcurrent, and say protection against overvoltage. Now we'll come to the point of GIDT protection of ACR. Then DVDT protection and how snubber circuits works here. Now we'll talk about the DIDT protection of SCR. So, DIDT protection of SCR, actually when anode current starts flowing through SCR, oh, when it is turned on by the application of gate signal. So this anode current takes some infinite time to spread across, some finite time to spread across the junction of SCR. For good working of SCR, this current must spread uniformly over the surface of the junction. If the rate of rise of this anode current, that is DIDT, is high, results in non-uniform spreading of current over the junctions. Because as the rate of rise, if it is high, it cannot be spreaded out uniformly across the junctions and along the junctions. So due to high current density, this further leads to form local hotspots near the gate cathode junction. So this effect may damage the SCR due to overheating. So hence during turn on, so this during turn on process of the SCR, this DIDT must kept below the specified limit, otherwise this local hotspot may cause the permanent damage of the SCRs. So prevent this high rate of range rise of the current, DIDT inductor is an inductor is connected across connected in series with thyristor. Typical SCR DIDT ratings are in the range between 20 to 500 amperes per microseconds. So that's all about DIDT. Now DVDT protection. DVDT protection of SCR. When SCR is forward biased, junctions J1 and J3 forward biased, and junction J2 is reverse biased. This reverse biased junction J2 exhibits the characteristics of a capacitors because there are two junctions, and junction J2 is in reverse biased conditions. It acts as a just like a dielectric, and this junction 1 and junction 3 are like two plates of a capacitor, so it behaves like a capacitor. Therefore, if the rate of forward voltage applied is very high, of course the SCR charging current close to the junction J2 is high enough to turn on the SCR even without any gate signal. So this is called a DVD triggering of SCRs. So when we have discussed this different turn on method, so we have talked about this DVD triggering methods of SCR, which is generally not employed as it may cause false triggering of the SCR. And the rate of rise of anode to cathode voltage, the DVD must be within the specified limit to protect the SCR against false triggering. This can be achieved by using RC snubber across the SCR. Now, how snubber circuit work? Basically, we have given an introductory discussions about the snubber circuits. Now, since the protection against this high voltage reverse recovery transients and DVDT is achieved by using this RC snubber network. Snubber circuits basically consist of a series combination of capacitor and resistors, which is connected across the SCR, across the SCRs. So this also consists an inductance in series with the SCRs to prevent high DVDT, DIDT. This resistance value is definitely of few hundred ohms. The snubber circuit used for this protection is shown in this circuit. This is snubber circuit. This is inductor for arresting DIDT. So when the SCR switch is closed, a sudden voltage appears across the SCRs, which is bypassed to this RC network. This is because the capacitor acts as a short circuit, which reduces the voltage across the SCR to 0. So as the time increases, the voltage across the capacitors builds up at a slow rate, such that DVDT across the capacitor is too small to turn on the SCR. Therefore, the DVT across the SCR and the capacitor is less than the maximum DVT rating of the SCR. So normally the capacitor is charged to a voltage equal to maximum supply voltage, which is the forward blocking voltage of the SCR. If SCR is turned on, the capacitor starts discharging, which causes a high current to flow through the SCRs. So this produces a high DIGT that maybe leads to the damage of the SCR. So hence, to limit high DIGT and peak discharge current, a small resistance is placed in series with capacitor, that is shown here, this resistance. So the snubber circuits can be connected to any switching circuit to limit the high surge or transient voltage. So that's all about this working of the snubber circuit and to protect the DVT protection, and in series with the SCRs, our inductor is provided to protect it against the DIGT. Now we talk about the freewheeling or flyback diode and how it's work. Now, what is it? Does it mean by freewheeling diode or flyback diodes? A freewheeling diode is basically a diode connected across inductive load terminals to prevent the development of high voltage across the switch. So when the inductive circuit is switched off, this diode gives a short circuit path for the flow of inductor decay current and hence dissipation of stored energy in the inductor. So this diode is also sometimes called flywheel or flyback diode. So what is the purpose of this freewheel diode? This main purpose of freewheeling or flyback diode is to freewheel the stored energy in the inductor by providing a short circuit path, which is shown here, providing a short circuit path. So before coming to this portion, so we'll talk about this phenomena. So this is necessary as sudden decay in circuit current will give rise to the high voltage across the switch contact and diode also. To understand this, consider this figure. So when switch is closed, a steady current I will flow through the circuit, and that the value of this voltage and divided by this resistance, and hence the stored energy across in this inductor is half Li square. Now when switch is opened, this stores energy. So say this current will suddenly decay to zero from steady value due to this sudden decay of current. A high reverse voltage as per Lenz's law equal to L didt will appear across the inductor terminals. So inductor and hence across the diode and the switch also. So this will lead to sparking across the switching contacts. If this reverse voltage exceeds the PIV, peak inverse voltage of the diode, then it may get damaged. So to avoid such voltage of diode when it or such occurrence of freewheeling or flyback diode is connected across the inductive RL load here. So so how freewheeling diode prevents such occurrence over voltage and when it comes in play. So let's concentrate on the working principle of freewheel diode. So when inductive load RL is connected to DC source through switch and the diode, so it is shown here. Now current builds up in the inductor and reaches its steady value after sometimes every 2-3 times. That is, this is equal to V by R into 1 minus the time constant into 1 reversal time constant into T, that is R by L. So final steady value will be V by R. So this part will be exponentially decay out. So when the switch is opened at T equal to 0, current in the circuit tends to decay through the load. This decay of current through inductor results in the development of reverse voltage equal to L didt across the inductor terminal. So that means inductor terminals. That may, this reverse voltage across inductor terminals makes freewheeling diode forward biased. So this freewheeling diode, this will be forward biased as shown here. So this is forward biased. As a result, so it will be the freewheeling diode behaves like a closed switch as shown here. The main circuit current is transferred to the circuit consisting of freewheeling diode R and L. As a result, this new circuit, the current will exponentially decay to zero. This decaying current is this. Thus, what we are finding, the freewheeling diode dissipates the stored energy inductor by providing a short circuit path. So it also provides a short path for exponential decay of the circuit currents. This high voltage is not induced, therefore the switches and diode is protected from the high voltage. So what we have find here, this is in our circuit, this one. Okay, so to this, if we put a freewheel diode here, so that means this circuit current due to this will be dissipated through this path that is shown here, and this is how the stored energy of this inductor is being freewheeling or fly back to protect this diode or the switch against the high voltage. So this is all about the freewheeling diode and its function, etc. So so far we have discussed about all these aspects, that is over voltage, over current, working of snubber circuits, DVDT protection, DIDT protection, protection against overcurrent, over voltage, etc., and then functioning of say freewheeling diode. So that's all. Now we'll discuss about the DAC, its principle of operation, characteristics, and application. Now, what is DAC? Basically, DAC is a diode that conducts electrical current only after its breakover voltage has been reached. Once again, I am repeating: DAC is a diode that conducts electrical currents only after its breakover voltage has been reached. So DAC stands for diode for alternating current. So DAC is a device which has two electrodes and it is a member of the thyristor family. It is used for triggering of thyristors. So it is the symbol which is resembles the connection of two diodes in series. So this is diode 1 and this is diode 2 connected in series. This is anode 1, this is anode 2, and it doesn't have any gate. Basically these DACs are used mainly to trigger track. We'll talk about track later on. So advantage DAC is it can be turned on or off simply by reducing the voltage level, because below its avalanche breakdown voltage. So DACs are also known as transistors without base. It should also be noted DAC can be either turned on or turned off for both polarities of voltage, that is positive or negative. They can still works when the avalanche breakdown occurs. So application of DAC. So main application of DAC is to use for triggering track. So DAC is connected to the gate terminal of the track. When voltage across the gate crosses decreases below a predetermined value, the gate voltage will be 0 and hence the track will be turned on. So some other application of DAC, it may be used as a lamp dimmer circuit, heat control circuit, can be used for speed control of universal motors, etc. Or DAC can be used with a track in series combination for triggering. The gate of a track is connected with the terminal of the DAC. When applied voltage across the DAC increases above the avalanche breakdown voltage, only then it can conduct. So, however, when the voltage across DAC decreases below its avalanche breakdown voltage, it will be turned off, and hence DAC will also remain in the off state. Now, construction. So it is a device which consists of four layers. Four layers. Two terminals is almost same like a transistors, but which is different from the construction of transistor is that but there are certain points which is not similar from the construction of the transistor. Differencing points are DAC has no base. The three regions have almost the same level of doping. It gives symmetrical switching characteristics for either polarity of voltages. So this is the construction of a DAC. Its characteristics. DAC has two p-type material and three n-type materials. We are finding that two, and this n1, n2, and n3. Three n-type materials. It does not have any gate terminals, of course. So it can be turned on for both polarity of voltages. So A2 is more positive with respect to A1. This one. So in that case, current does not flow through corresponding N layer, but flows from P2, N2, P1, A1 from this. Okay. When N1 is more positive, then current flows to P1, N2, P2, N3. This way. Okay. So the construction resembles the diode connected in series. When voltage is applied in a small, in either polarity, a very small current flows, which is known as the leakage current, because of the drift of the electrons and holes in the depletion region. Although small current flows, it is not sufficient to produce avalanche breakdown, hence device remains in the non-conducting state. When applied voltage either polarity exceeds the breakover voltage, breakdown voltage, DAC current rises, and the device conducts in accordance with the characteristic that is shown here. So this characteristic will be taken from electrical for you. Oh, this is the way, either this direction or this direction. So this is that symbol. So VI characteristic symbols like say English letter Z. The DAC acts as an open circuit when the voltage is less than its avalanche breakdown voltage. When the device has to be turned off, the voltage must be reduced below the avalanche breakdown voltage. Now, conclusion is that DAC is an important device for the thyristor family. Then its main advantage of using this device is it does not switch sharply to a low voltage condition at a low current level as done by SCR or track. It has on-step voltage drop until its current flows falls below the holding current level. Voltage drop decreases with the increase in current. So that's all about DAC. Now we'll talk about the track. So construction, its principal operation and characteristics and application. TAC is a three-terminal AC switch which is different from other silicon control rectifiers in the sense that it can conduct in both the direction, that is whether the applied gate signal is positive or negative, it will conduct. So this device can be used for AC system as a switch. It's a three-terminal, four-layer bidirectional semiconductor device that controls AC power. The track of maximum rating of 16 kilowatt is available in the market. So this is the symbol of a track, main terminal 1, main terminal 2, and this is the gate terminal. So it is connected in inverse parallel and the gate terminals. Its construction is like this. Two SCRs are connected in inverse parallel with gate terminal as common. Gate terminals is connected to both the N and P regions, uh, connected to both N and P regions, due to which gate signal may be applied, which is irrespective of the polarity of the signal. Um, Here we don't have anode and cathode, since it works for both the polarities, which means that the device is bilateral. It consists of three terminals, namely main terminal 1, main terminal 2, and gate terminal. So this is the construction of the track. So two main terminals and the remaining terminal is the gate. Operations, it can be turned on by applying the gate voltage higher than the breakover voltage. So without making the voltage high, it can be turned on by applying a gate pulse of 35 microsecond to turn it on. When the voltage applied to is less than the breakover voltage, we use gate triggering method to turn it on. So there are four different modes of operations. There MT2, main terminal 2, and gate being positive with respect to main terminal 1. When this happens, current flows through the path P1, N1, P2, N2, the different P1, N1, P2, N2. P1, N1, and P2, N2 are forward biased, and N1, P2 is reverse biased. Okay. Track is said to be operated in a positively biased region, positive gate with respect to MT1, forward biased P2, N2, and breakdown occurs. Second mode, when MT2, main terminal 2 is positive but gate is negative with respect to main terminal 1, the current flows to the path P1, N1, and P2, N2 this way. So, but P2 and 3 is forward biased, and current carry is injected into P2 on the track. And third, when MT2 and gate are negative with respect to MT1, current flows to the path P2 N1 and P1 N4. Two junctions P2 N1 and P1 N4 are forward biased, but junction N1 P1 is reverse biased. Track is said to be in the negatively biased region. When MT2 is negative, but this is the fourth mode of operation, MT2 is negative, but gate is positive with respect to MT1. P2 N2 is forward biased. At that condition, current carriers are injected, so the track turn on. This mode of operation has a disadvantage that it should not be used for high DIDT circuits. Sensitivity of triggering in mode 2 and 3 is high, and if a marginal triggering capability is required, negative gate pulses should be used. Triggering in mode 1 is more sensitive than mode 2 and mode 3. So that's all of the working operations of the track. Now characteristics, track characteristics is similar to SCR, but it is applicable both positive and negative track voltage. The operation can be similarly as well. First quadrant operation of track, when voltage on MT2 is positive with respect to terminal MT1, and gate voltage is also positive with respect to first terminal. Second quadrant operation of track, which is a voltage at terminal 2 is positive with respect to terminal 1, and gate voltage is negative with respect to terminal 1. Third quadrant operation of track is voltage terminal is 1 is positive with respect to terminal 2, and the gate voltage is negative. And fourth quadrant of operation, voltage terminal 2 is negative with respect to terminal 1, and gate voltage is positive. So these are all shown in this characteristics card. One state, SCR1 conducting mode, MT2 positive, locking state. So this all say described in this figure. So this is like two resistors. So when the device gets turned on, a heavy current flows to it. It will damage the device, and in order to limit the current, the current limiting resistor should be connected externally to it. So by applying proper gate signal, firing angle of the device will be controlled. The gate triggering circuit should be used for proper gate triggering. We can use DAC for triggering the gate pulse. for firing angle device with proper firing angle. Gate pulse may be applied up to a duration of 35 microseconds. So TAC has several advantages. It can be triggered with positive or negative polarity of gate pulses. It recurs only a single heat sink of slightly larger size, whereas for ACR, 2 heat sinks would be required for smaller size. It requires single fuse for protection. A safe backdown in either direction is possible, but for ACR protection should be given with parallel diode. So disadvantage is of the track is they are not much reliable compared to ACR. DVDT rating is lower than ACR, lower ratings are available compared to ACRs. So we must be careful about the triggering circuit, as it can be triggered in either direction. And uses of track, they are used in control circuits. It is used in high power lamp switching. It is used in AC power control, etc. So that's all about our track. Once again, I am telling we have discussed this DAC, its construction, application, characteristics, etc. And then we discussed about track. These are the two important members of the thyristor family: its construction, operation, characteristics, and applications. So we have discussed all these things. So and is application, is uses and its disadvantages, but why it is not more useful like the SCR, what are its limitations, that is also discussed in the disadvantage portions of the track. So because they are not reliable like SCR, DVDT rating is lower than SCR. Lower ratings are available compared to ACRs, because we need to be careful about the triggering circuits. It can be triggered in either direction.